Good morning. It's 3 a.m. on Saturday morning, December 5th. And I wanted to send you out a little bit of an informational video that describes my thoughts and ideas about getting your amateur radio license. For those of you who received radios from me recently, I gave out those radios because they have been in my closet for a while, waiting for someone to say that they would study, get their exam, pass their exam, and that I would give them those radios as a bit of an incentive to get your license. But when my wife and I decided that we were going to relocate to Arizona for a while, I realized that those radios sitting in a closet were doing nobody any good. So I decided to distribute them. That being said, the first thing you ask yourself is, okay, what do I do? Let me turn this down. So I sort of wanted to talk about this and give you some ideas about why, number one, yes, you can use the radio in an emergency if it's for the protection of life or property and other communication methods are unavailable. For example, your cell phone stops working. You can use amateur radio frequencies and radios if other methods are unavailable and it's for the protection of life or property. So that being said, yes, you can use it, but only in an emergency. But along with that, it's really important to understand that, and I've got this one, and this is not one of the ones that I gave away, but this is actually a much more expensive one that I borrowed when we came down here to Arizona. But these radios are pretty complex. It's not like a CB radio where you can just turn it on, go to channel 19 and go, I need help. There's more to it than that. And for example, there are no channels on these radios. It's just a range of frequencies, and you can dial it anywhere you want within that range of frequencies and use it. So it's important to understand that there is a value in getting yourself licensed so that you can learn about these things, so you can practice with them, so you can make contact with other people, and they can show you how to do things like program these, make contact with local repeaters or amateur radio clubs. So I think that there's a great value in doing so. So there are a couple approaches to getting licensed. Let's just say, you're listening to me about how to get licensed. There are a couple approaches, and I'll tell you the approach that I took when I got my initial license. There are a couple approaches. One is, I want to learn about amateur radio. What is amateur radio all about? How do these radios work? What frequencies are they on, etc., etc. Good stuff to know. But when I wanted to get my license, the first thing that I thought about was, how do I get my license as quickly as possible and as easily as possible? So for me, I said, how do I study? What do I study? And then where do I take my exam? That's all I wanted to concern myself with. So let's talk about this latest video that I sent out to everybody, or the video link that talked about ham radio prep, which is hamradioprep.com. I was so impressed by it, I signed my wife up at her request so that she could study and take her exam. But the main thing I wanted to do for myself back in 2013 was get my license. So let's say you're just on the street and you want to get a license. You can go to arrl.org and if you're looking for, how to get stuff in here, it's pretty extensive. So what I looked up is pool. And the reason for that is all three of the amateur radio license exams, technician, which is the lowest, general, and amateur extra, publish their question pool publicly. In other words, you can get a hold of the question pool and study that question pool, and you will pass the exam when you take it. So, that's the simplest way. Go to ARRL, look up the word pool. Let me search for that. And it says question pools, technician question pool, right here, tech question pool. So I click on that, and it says you can download or print the question pool. And it says, this is for this period of time, withdrawn questions. Click on question pools, and it takes you to a place called NCVEC. Totally okay. Just recognize that they are affiliated with the ARRL. And over here on the left, it says Technician Class Pool. So here you have the Technician Class Pool in MS Word format or in PDF format. And then you have what are called graphics. What are these graphics? Well, let me pull this up and show you this, because I think it's important for you to understand that the graphics are included in the technician questions and general and extra. They have diagrams, and there's 3 of them for the technician. For the technician class pool, and they'll ask questions about it, and they'll say things like, oh, well, in figure T3, number 2 represents what? And so, just so you know, that's what they're referring to. In the actual license exam, these 3 pictures will probably be there, or at least 1, maybe 2 of those 3. So, do you need to know about those diagrams? It's helpful, but is it required? Well, let's do the math. It's going to be a 35-question exam, and you have to get 26 questions correctly in order to pass. If you do the math on that, there are going to be a maximum of 2 or 3 questions that deal with those diagrams. That means if you study all the other questions and you're really good at them, you don't even need to know about the diagrams. That's my take on the matter. What I did was I studied the questions as they relate to the diagrams and never even studied the diagrams themselves. Okay? Just one quick tip there. So you can pull down the Microsoft Word document, and here's what it looks like. Whoops. Here's what it looks like when you get it down. And it's loaded full of blah, 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 nouns and verbs. The first thing it talks about is errata. The first page or 2 is, we changed this to say this, we changed this to remove this, we changed this to add this, etc. Then you get down to the actual question pool. So everything above this you can erase. You don't have to worry about it at all. Start at where it says question pool. And you notice this pool is good for at least another 2 years. So study soon, but if you don't and you study, a month from now, this exam question pool will still be effective. Okay? So as you're looking at it, it says sub-element, blah, 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 and this is what it refers to. But let's go down and just find one of the questions. Here's, the question as you stare at it. And it says T1A01 C97.1. The only thing you need to concern yourself with is the actual text of the question, and here are the 4 possible answers. Well, which one is correct? Take a look back up here, and this tells you the correct answer for this particular question. Now, this will not be on your exam. Okay, Recognize that. So they're not going to hand you the answer. But in this question pool, they do tell you what the answer is. So you don't have to worry about this part. You don't have to worry about this part. And honestly, you don't have to worry about the distractors. If you see this question and you know that this is the correct answer, this is how I studied. Personally, I studied and I got 100% on my technician exam. Okay? So study the question and what the proper answer, the correct answer is. That's all I did. And then I removed everything else having to do with this. Question, correct answer. Question, correct answer. I studied all of those. There are about 410 questions, I believe. And I studied the correct answers without studying the diagrams, and I got 100%. So you can do that. It's free, and that's how you do it. You go to ARRL. It'll redirect you to NCVEC, where you can download the technician exam pool. But let's say you don't want to do it that way. You're not a hardcore study addict, and you just want to learn. Well, I went to Ham Radio Prep, took a look at it, and I was very impressed. So I signed my wife up, like I said. So let's go back to this course and take a look at it. The first thing it says is, before you get started, and here's why. It says, welcome to the course, blah, blah, blah. It says, throughout this lesson, you'll see words in blue. And it says, focus on those. Why? Because the words in blue are, let me find it again. The words in blue are this answer described. Explain. Let's say the answer is D. It is encouraged. What are the FCC rules regarding the use of a phonetic alphabet? Now, phonetic alphabet means Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, etc. That's what phonetic alphabet means. And it says, use of a phonetic alphabet, according to D, is encouraged. Well, when you go over here to Ham Radio Prep, it will describe how a phonetic alphabet is encouraged. And they'll, use regular teaching to get you there. But what you're supposed to do is, for example, it's got, the blue here. Our students pass the exam. We're here for you, blah, blah, blah. So if you go down to Introduction to Amateur Radio, I'm going to start this for my wife. I really shouldn't, but anyway. So I go down here and I take a look at this. And it says, everything in blue. There are 3 levels of licenses: Technician, General, and Amateur Extra. So if I go back here and look for it says, for which license classes are new licenses currently available? The answer is D, Technician, General, and Amateur Extra. So when you come back here to your teaching, it says the 3 levels are Technician, General, and Amateur Extra. So this blue is the exact text of the answer for your study guide. All right? That's why you want to, if you don't want to do that hardcore study, question, right answer, question, right answer, question, right answer, come here, study it, and they give it to you in English, and they describe it. So that's why I really like Ham Radio Prep. I didn't use it. I went straight to and downloaded this, Microsoft Word document, and I actually removed everything that was not question, right answer. I removed all of this stuff. I removed all of, this thing, all of those references. I removed the errata sheet up at the top. I didn't want any of that. I wanted question, right answer. Question, right answer. Another way you can use it here, if you want, is to leave it like this, and this says, for example, answer A is the correct one. You can go in here and actually highlight A, so you can see the question, and then it'll immediately forward you to, or your eyes will be drawn to the highlighting. It's up to you, whatever works best for you to study and pass. But I do believe it's important for you to learn about these radios so that you don't just see my instructions to say press 14652 and key down and say help, help, help. All right, that's what I did when I gave you those instructions. Make sure it's set to frequency mode 14652. Press the transmit button and say, I need help, somebody please, I don't have a license. There's more to it than that. And there's lots of things you can do, including practice, that the instructions I gave you don't do that. So I encourage you to go to Ham Radio Prep. I encourage you to study and get your license, and this will tell you how to do it, I think, in the most educational manner so that anybody can study and learn. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm here to help in whatever way I can, okay? Thanks, everybody.